Oilerslive Podcast. Oilerslive Podcast. Oilerslive Podcast. Oilerslive Podcast.
Now, get ready to talk hockey. Streaming from the Oilers Live Studio. Subscribe or follow today.
Hey, it's Michael here for another Tuesday edition of Oilers Live as we enter into Oilers preseason games and fully into the 2023 NHL Camp season. I've got as my guest tonight, Mr. Dash, at Dash in the Park on Twitter. Thanks for coming on, sir. How are you doing?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me as always.
As always.
Will have you know that this is my 30th episode of Oilers Live.
I don't even know if I've done 30 episodes, so that's all right.
I think you're at like 300, but that puts
Maybe.
me at like 10% of your episodes, which, you know, there's some kind of record for that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Start with a question for you. What is it that you like about Dash in the Park that you decide to invite me back 30 times?
We don't have. I usually save that for the chair at the counselor's office. So
Sorry about that.
welcome.
Thanks, buddy.
Welcome. Yeah, is it legit 30 episodes?
Yeah, legit 30th. Yeah,
Oh man,
I counted up today because I thought it must have been getting up there.
I gotta stop on that. Those drugs, eh?
Oh yeah, well, that's either your yeah, I don't know, drugs. We'll go with that.
Oh
You-
man.
You and the Florida GM.
Oh, you know what? I just opened Twitter. Rod Peterson, good guy. You know, does a little show on. You see him at Rod Peterson. He's got a little thing. He says, "I think the Calgary Flames are the NHL's #1 team." Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway,
It's almost like I know what I'm talking about.
yeah. Well, we'll get into that.
Are we?
We'll
Oh,
get into
jeez.
that. At some point, we will talk about that. Maybe not tonight. A couple preseason games in the books. Rookie camp in the books. Lots of different things. Lots to talk about. I think. There's lots to talk about, and there's lots not to talk about. I mean, the reality is nothing's happened yet, and right now it's unless if you are a hardcore hockey nut, like some of us are. This is kind of the boring part of the season. You don't get to watch Connor McDavid fly down the ice. You don't get to see Leon Draisaitl. You don't get to see the Nuge. But you
Get to see McLeod and Holloway fly down the ice.
McLeod and Holloway, yeah. And so let's talk about this. So rookie camp, as I said in the books, Oilers 3-0 in rookie camp, really dominated competition there. Oilers 1-1 in preseason. I've always, there's always a part of me. I love watching the Oilers win, even if it's preseason. But doesn't it always feel like the team with the best preseason record is the team that's the worst in the regular season? I mean, isn't that what it translates to? And so I'm always at this, like, if they lose, like last night to the Seattle Kraken in a shutout, there's a part of me that thinks, hey, this is just preseason, and it really doesn't, who gives a shit what's going on? But I hate seeing the Oilers lose, even if it is. But last night it was good. Have you had a chance? Did you watch the rookie camp? Did you watch both? I know you were at Raw last night, by the way, which there was a scene where they were in the Oilers Hall of Fame room. Pretty cool. I might add, did that make TV? Did that make the live stream? Nice.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Rod
Extra
Peterson,
news.
eat your shorts. Oilers are #1. Oilers are number one, if not number one in the league this year, number one franchise, right in our hearts.
In our hearts,
in our
there's
hearts.
no doubt.
Okay, so let's talk.
To answer your question, I watched highlights from a little bit of rookie camp. My brother was there. He watched some of it live, so he was live texting me and telling me how embarrassed he was of the Vancouver Canucks farm system and how our players were dominating. So
well, and probably the
seemed pretty
franchise
par
too,
for the course,
right?
Yeah,
not just the farm system. I mean, the franchise.
We raised most of the family, right? That one got away a little bit. He did.
Always one black sheep.
That's right. So that was good. I watched all of the first game versus the Jets. Really, a lot of things jumped out for me. I think there's a lot of takeaways. I'm sure we'll get into that. And then didn't get to watch last night's game. I've seen it a little bit online, but I had a really busy day in my real life as well. So it was a little bit tough to get back and see too much. But I got the gist of it through reading some fantastic summaries on heavyhockey.com.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I was actually going to bring that up. So for those of you tuning in, definitely check out heavyhockey.com. The guys have been really busy putting together, their view of the game. And they've done a great job. I think,
pretty accurate.
From what I've read, I felt, very accurate. And here's my take on.
It's a good thing we hire people that know their hockey.
That's right. It's here's my take on rookie camp so far, preseason so far, and what's different this year versus every year, and maybe this will spark some conversations because. And thanks everybody. By the way, I see Peter Griffin there. Canucks have 0 prospects. We know who that fellow is. Jack Jensen says you need an agent. I've talked to his agent, Jack, and he's got the contract that his agent put together for him.
We're looking at crossing some T's and dotting some I's as we speak.
Yeah, Neil asks if I got my knees wet out here. If you don't know, I'm based in Halifax. We just recently had Hurricane Fiona have a visit here in Halifax. It was bad, but certainly they got it really bad in Cape Breton and in Newfoundland and certain areas. And my heart goes out to those folks. There's some pretty awful stories. There are some awful stories out here, and lots to clean up after. But for the most part, a couple $1,000 in property damage, but not much more than that. Some downed trees, that type of thing. But just happy to be through it, and don't look forward to the next one because I know they happen out here.
Thanks, Neil. I meant to say that when we started. It is actually great to see your face, man. We were worried about you. Josh as well. Tough calls from right around your area, and I know he said his neighbors still some don't have power. And
I've got friends that are still without power. Some, heaven forbid, without internet still. So they can't even tune in tonight. Which
I'm sure our viewership will be cut heavily.
That's right. We're down in the ones right now. Dursa says crazy. Dash is out there creating Rod Peterson burners. I love that. Kelvin, you think Patrick Kane will sign with the Oilers? We'll talk about that. Okay, here's my thanks, guys. I just wanted to kind of get to everybody there. Neil, I'll talk about this because Woodcroft did play Virtanen back to back. Here's the thing. This is, in my mind, and we're seeing already some of the changes between Woodcroft and Tippett, and all these things, and you can be critical of Ken Holland, you can be critical of a lot of things, but in the rookie camp, Dash, you put a tweet out earlier that talked about how many years back the Oilers they still have all their first rounders in the system since what year?
They're the only NHL team to have every single one of their last 10 first round picks.
Yeah. So the Oilers are, they're drafting well, they're developing players in the system. This is that's how Ken Holland is. I'm not, don't get me wrong, I'm not a huge Ken Holland fan. He's got some things that drive me nuts, but there's some things about him that, I like. This is one of them. keeping the prospects, developing them, doing the right things there. And then, the probably the big thing though, is now we're into the Woodcroft world of the Edmonton Oilers, and nothing is more apparent than when you get into preseason. And I watch, 2 preseason games, and you see utilization, you see the players that he's used, you see how he's using them, right? And you start to get a feel for, how he develops and how he thinks the game so much differently in my mind. Like Woodcroft to me is at a level that like he's just a student of the craft of coaching. He's a student of everything there is to do in this development aspect, and the way that he's playing these players preseason is really giving us a good look of what's to come. There's 9 preseason games? Is that what it is, or was it 8 preseason?
8.
8 preseason, I think. Yeah.
4 on the road, 4 at home.
Yeah. Lots of preseason games, and the utilization and getting a chance to see, Virtanen back to back. I wasn't big on the Virtanen PTO, but hey, if you're going to have him in the system, you got to have a look. Using him on the back to back, the way he's using Holloway, Bourgault, having a look at these guys. I thought, the unfortunate was last night, a couple guys that had shown well in the rookie camp didn't show quite as well last night, but it was great seeing the Oilers play against, half of an NHL roster last night. And these are it was a prospect team. We didn't have, our top 6 was not on there, with the exception of Yamamoto, really.
Yeah.
And Holloway, look, has been, he's been outstanding. This guy, you put him on a line with a couple of really great forwards, and I think, to me, he's, and it's not unexpected, but Woodcroft's putting him in a position to be successful and giving him the chance to be successful, and I think he's going to be successful coming out of camp.
Yeah.
Pardon me.
Yep.
James says, does Virtanen get cut tomorrow or the next night?
Whenever.
Yeah. As
soon as possible.
I think the play of Holloway, the ability of some of the players to I think Bourgault should see some NHL time this year. I don't think he's necessarily ready to make the move. I think he needs some time playing some pro hockey, and knowing the way Ken Holland is, and that we'll see him go to the AHL and do well. And that's the other side of this is we're seeing some AHL players play that I think we're going to have a hell of a team this year. The Oilers should they should have a tremendous team going into the AHL year. The goaltending looked good. Fanti, Rodrigue, I thought they looked pretty solid. In the last 2 games, Skinner looked solid. Look, I had no problem with their game last night, despite losing in a shutout. I thought that they played, to their level, to the level that they, should, considering. The one guy that was a little bit disappointing for me last night, who really showed well in the rookie camp, was Max Wanner. He was exposed pretty bad last night, I thought. Just didn't look good. It's one bad game, right? And the other guy look, it's preseason, but we're getting a look at him. We got to look at him in rookie camp, and I'm curious to get your feeling on it. Broberg. The talk is he's, put on 13 pounds of muscle. He's come in with a bigger frame. I haven't been enamored by his play so far. Somebody mentioned, I think, in the group chat that Stauffer said Stauffer figures he's having trouble adjusting to his frame. I don't know. What's your thoughts? Have you watched him? Do you think there's is this reason for concern, or is it just preseason and forget about it?
I think it's preseason and forget about it for sure. Everybody's trying to find their legs to a certain extent, especially when you're playing in a little bit of a new body. Um, I'll never forget when Sam Gagner first put on his 20 pounds when he was told to, and immediately the next season did everything he could to lose 15 pounds because he just said he just didn't feel like himself. He wasn't as quick. Um, and when you don't have the flat out speed like a guy with a guy like Sam Gagner, you need those little skills. You need those little board battles and that quickness, and losing that took his edge away. So it takes a bit of time to adjust, I think, is really what it comes down to. I still think his skating looks great. His ability to transport the puck is pretty phenomenal on our team. I think it's maybe the best we have. Although Kulak's been doing a great job of that as well. And man, I wish Nemo had better puck handling abilities because he surprises me how fast he is every time I watch him play. He's just so agile and fast fast, not just a good skater. Like he's fast for a big guy. All that said, I think Broberry, he was already built like a Greek god, and now he's going to put on another 13 pounds of muscle. So interesting, I guess. We'll see how it goes. I would say he's all but guaranteed a spot on the opening day roster just because of our cap situation and the fact that they've got to start him in the big club instead of the A. If they start him in the A,
I mean,
when they
I
call
think
him up,
that's
they've got
a given, right? I mean, he's got to do something awful to not be on the opening day roster. I think is the best way to look at it.
I mean, he's got to get hurt to not be on the opening day roster. That's the only way. They've really already got the cap set around it, right? Yeah. And the reason they gave McLeod what they gave him was to get within $164 of the cap limit, and that's because they're counting on having Holloway and Broberg in the opening day lineup. Yeah. If they send them down and then call them up, they have to account for their bonuses, so their salary is basically double against the cap.
Yep.
Broberg's a $1.7 million player if he starts in the A and then gets called up. But if he starts here, he's an $880,000 player. So it's no doubt the only way he doesn't start is if he gets hurt. But the question is whether Holloway and Broberry get sent down. I think Demers is going to give Broberry a push. I think he looks pretty good. What's great is that we've got NHL players pushing these young guys for their spots. Right? Like that's maybe the only benefit Virtanen's really brought with them, to be honest, is that, these young guys are out there skating against a guy who's scored 20 goals in the NHL before. And that's who they're potentially, playing against. I don't think Virtanen did anything to impress anybody. Really, I'd say his showing was pretty similar to his integrity, just questionable and shifty.
Yeah, I haven't been enamored with Virtanen's play.
Yeah, he's just whatever. So,
but there's some talk about Niemelainen, both from Dursa on Facebook and some folks on the YouTube. I think that's a guy that you talked about it, puck handling maybe, but look, against the Kraken last night, seeing Larson out there just made me realize what you're missing, when Larson's out, and having that big guy that can just sort of push folks around and do, I watched a little bit of the Flames and Kraken tonight. They're playing preseason, and Alexiak's in there, and he's just a big body that pushes guys around, and Niemelainen gives that to you. I think he's got a lot of upside. I think we'll see him playing a lot more games this year, for sure. And love seeing him come into camp, and he looks like he's got a lot more confidence. Certainly, of course, he played a few games last year, and I love that. I love that about him. I don't know. Demers to me hasn't really shown anything more than and there's still guys that we have yet to see preseason, right? There's still lots of players. I don't know what the lineup is tomorrow night for Calgary. I don't know if they posted that yet. I should have a look, but there's a lot of players yet to see, and the reality is though is and I talked about this. Sort of the big thing for me is just watching how Woodcroft is using these players and understanding that a lot of these guys in these first 2 games, they're not going to be on the big team, right? But they're getting a shot. They're getting a shot to show what they've got and maybe go the extra. And they're not maybe looking like NHLers, but they're looking like damn good prospects. And you said this off air before we got on the air tonight, which is, this is real time to be pretty happy with the Oilers system. I wasn't even, for a long time we were worried about Rodrigue and Fanti. I'm not that one, half a game is going to change, where our prospect situation is on the goalie front, but they played better than I remember, right? And they didn't look bad in the rookie camp. They're doing what you expect or what you want from your prospects as they go through the system. And at the very least, if they play like that, they give you room and trade bait for other things, right? And this is the year, finally, this is the year where you expect that the Oilers are going into the trade deadline to make some moves. And that's what you want. You want this. This is where these are all chips, right?
And that's when we'll find out where Patrick Kane wants to go.
Yeah, and that's the Patrick Kane conversation right there.
Yeah.
This, from what I've gathered so far and what you know about the players that are, guaranteed to make the team, this is a good team. I'm happy with it. In fact, you know what I loved? Bouchard. Watching him looked heads and tails above everybody out there. Like he's an NHLer.
He looks like he grew into his old man strength finally, right?
He's like I used the word sublime, but he's going to get more power play time this year. And
unless they want to keep his contract down.
yeah. Watch out. I mean, guys, if you're into the fantasy hockey, there's a guy that's going to be a nice pickup. In fact, I think I was looking at the NHL. I love looking at NHL.com, what their rankings are. He's ahead of Nurse for the Oilers in the on defense for fantasy hockey and ahead of Barry. They've got him in the top 20.
Wow.
So go figure. So,
Could be running the number 1 power play in the NHL.
Yeah.
Holloway doesn't score that goal if it wasn't for the Bush bomb.
Oh, absolutely. Right. And, I love it.
Or Hollywood, as we're going to call him, I understand.
But remember, you watch these guys develop in the system and you see them go, week after week. And, you see them in the preseason. And there are times where they look, like Niemelainen. He looks like a player out there, but he's not, a standout. He's not the best player out there. Whereas in game 1 against the Jets, it's clear that Bouchard's in the next level. Right? Like when he got out there and he's handling the puck, he's like going to an NHL alumni tournament and you know who the alumni are just by the way they play the puck, right? Like that.
I would challenge you that Nemo didn't stand out, man.
What? No, I'm not. That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about next level standout, right?
Sure. Heads and shoulders above the pack. I get you.
Yeah. I mean, Nemo did, in my mind, he stood out. He made some big hits. I mean, the guy's
he stands out physically. He stands out because he's so fast for how big he is. He stands out. Who doesn't want a defenseman that's 6'6" that tries to hurt everybody every shift? Like it's Nicholas Kronwall with 20 pounds and 6 inches, right? Like, I thought he actually cleared the crease really well too. He was pretty physical around the nets and did pretty good. Yeah, I like Nemo.
Let's talk about another body out there that I just haven't looked. It hasn't looked great. Puljujarvi. What's your thoughts there? I mean, are we? Is this a continuation of the second half of last season, or again just a preseason blip?
I don't put anything in this. We're 20% into preseason. Yeah, it's just too hard to put anything into anything. In fact, 5 games into the NHL, if you ask me the same question, I'm going to say wait until the 20 game mark. That's when you can start to figure things out.
That's going to be a bullshit answer if we're 5
games
and you're telling me we're waiting until 20 games.
Look, don't get your Tyratties in a knot, all right?
Tyratty, where's he? Where's Perlini? Who's
Oh,
our
yeah.
Perlini this year? That's what I want to know.
I don't know. Holloway, but he's actually good.
Hamblin.
He's the guy everybody's talking about this preseason.
Yeah,
Hollywood, we're going to call him. Like Hollywood.
Here's a guy that's going to do some damage, I think, in the AHL is Hamblin. Like, like that guy, if he can. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the guy seems to have a nose for being in the right spot.
He's all over the ice. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's got a nose for being in the right spot. He just
so does Hollywood, too. He was like, Holloway pushes the river, man. You know what he is he reminds me of Puljujarvi, except he's faster, has a better finish. The way that his pursuit of the puck is excellent. And he's got good hands, good stick. I don't mean good hands as in deking. I just mean like along the boards, his board play, it just stands out. I think he had 3 takeaways in that game or something, if I remember correctly, and 9 shot attempts, and really impressive.
Yeah. I mean,
he had high expectations, and he's exceeding them.
Well, the way, like, I love watching a guy cut to the net like that. Like,
he looks like Taylor Hall sometimes, man.
Oh, man. Yeah.
I know I'm not.
It's hard to get too excited. Like, you don't, same reason you don't want to get too excited about Puljujarvi having a bad couple outings.
That's right.
I mean, you don't want to get too.
I don't want to talk out of both sides of my mouth like some people that I know were.
Like,
Kirk.
Where's Kirk tonight?
Yeah, get on here, Kirk.
I hope he's tuning in.
Give him a poke.
Again, guys, another little just shout out to the guys over the writers at Heavy Hockey there. Speaking of Kirk, the guys are writing the articles about the about the cap situations. Ryan's got this cap thing down pat, and nobody's going to give Heavy Hockey credit for breaking anything, but he was the first one to talk about what the McLeod signing meant. Like, legit, the first one. He was 15 minutes before I saw any tweet.
Lotzie predicted the Brassard trade. He was the only person out there that I heard anybody say anything about that. He predicted the game that Cassian got moved up to the first line, and nobody was talking about that. If we actually had anybody with some worth in our network, Michael, we could actually go and have somebody go and take these clips and maybe highlight some of the talent that you house in your network, boss.
Well, I'm giving him credit right now. I'm telling you right now, he broke the cap situation on McLeod. He was the first one. His article was out there. He knew right away what it meant, how it meant to the team, what it was going to mean from a lineup perspective, who you might see opening day. And for those of you that aren't following it, look, I read these cap things. I get all my information from guys like Lotsberg that are, looking at it, or our friend Hart at Puck PD.
Yeah.
He, these guys, they understand the cap situation a lot better than I am.
Hart's unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's and it's great, right? Like, this is, but that's where you got to go. So if you want to understand, go and check that out. Jack says, "Love the third jersey. Anybody know if the hats are out to match them?"
I haven't seen.
You haven't seen the third jersey?
I haven't seen if there's hats. I haven't been. There's a new Oilers store that was just.
What's your thought on the third jersey? We talked about it last week.
I don't know. It's kind of shadowed by the fact that I'm so excited they went back to the proper color blue.
Yeah.
I just think over the years it got darker and darker and darker to the point where that last reverse retro, which was a great jersey, it's almost black and orange. So I just love seeing that. The reverse retro, I liked the McFarland jersey, but it's like I'm with Lotzie. It's not really a reverse retro because it's not the opposite color, and there's orange in it, which wasn't in the last one. So
I
don't know. Just call it a third
fatigue. That's where I'm.
Yeah, every year we're doing it, right? Like Kate's is the one laughing in the background, honestly, but not sure, Jack. Not sure if that stuff's out yet.
Yeah, I've got.
Keep your fingers crossed. Maybe you'll get one for
fatigue.
Christmas.
I'm happy they're going back to the. It's probably has to do a lot to do with these orange jerseys. I didn't mind the second version of the orange jersey. The first version I didn't like the second jersey, but obviously the players got in there and said they didn't like it either, which is good. I'm happy to hear that. But I do. There's nothing like the classic. the blues that we're sporting now.
Yeah, for sure.
Far and away my favorite, and in my opinion, the best looking jersey in the league. At that, Look, I liked the McFarlane jersey when it first came out. I'm not sure I like this rendition, but
It's just okay, I guess. Yeah. I'll check the stores and see if there's any hats out there. Jack might get one for Christmas. Peter Griffin, do you want one too? You want an Oilers hat?
Lotsy says third jerseys aren't being released till November 17th or 18th, so no hats until
there you go.
then. Neil says,
leave it to Lotsy. He's got all the answers, like we said.
When are we seeing? What do you think? Like, how many games do you think we see McDavid go preseason? 2, 3?
2.
2.
2.
Yeah.
Last game at home, probably, and maybe the second last game at home.
Yeah.
I don't even think they'll send him on the road. Why would you want your players going through airports and stuff right now?
This is our year, man. I've got a good feeling about this. I've got there's everything about camp, the way these guys are gelling, the players that are in camp, the little things, right? Like I've just got a great feeling about how this year is going to go, and unless if somebody on here tells me they think I'm wrong, I think the Oilers are finishing first in the Pacific. What do you think?
Just gonna set that exploding golf ball on a tee right on the first tee box. I'm standing by it, man. I think Calgary is a better team, and I think they're gonna be a more consistent regular season team. And then the Oilers will beat them in 5 games in the second round of the playoffs again. I just think that Sutter will drive that team to consistency, and that's what he does. I don't care where we finish in the standings, to be honest. It doesn't really, as long as we make the playoffs, man.
It matters.
Nah, it doesn't. What are we going to hang a banner like they did? Oh,
damn right, we're heading
Pacific Division champions. Way to hang those banners, Calgary. That's what happens when you have one Stanley Cup. You hang Pacific Division banners. They can make room for another one going up this year.
Set this up so beautifully. We got Here Comes Dash's Flames.
Neil, come on, man.
Thanks, Neil. I appreciate that. I mean, look. Here's what I know, and this is fun to talk about. But I know the Oilers are going to be a good team this year, like a top half team.
Yeah.
I don't know that about the Flames. Like we just don't know. We have no, there's 3 or 4 players on that team that are coming off career years. Look, they're all new to each other, right? So
I mean, the Oilers turned over just as much of their roster as the Flames did.
The top end of the roster.
How many Oilers had? Why are you making me argue about the Flames? You're such an asshole.
Let's argue about it.
How many Oilers had career years last year, Homer?
Well, you think McDavid? That's like a flash in the pan.
No, but that's a carear year for McDavid.
Yeah, but it's not the same type of career year.
Why?
We're talking a career year. We're talking like Mangiapane, far outscored any other year.
Goudreau has his best year. McDavid has his best year.
Yeah.
Kane has his best year. Tkachuk has his best year.
Consistently has the best year. Right? Like every year is a career year for McDavid.
Well, doesn't it is, man.
They're not those aren't flash in the pan years.
Why can't you count Oilers career years, but you can count Flames career years?
So you're saying that Draisaitl and McDavid, those were career years in terms of they'll never have years like that again.
Are you saying peak seasons, or are you saying career years? Because those are two different things. If you're telling me that those are the
flash in the pan seasons, brand new, these guys, Huberdeau never scored like that before. He's had good seasons, but he's not been consistently one of the top scorers in the league. McDavid's consistently the top scorer in the league.
Huberdeau's been in the top 5 in the league in assists since he got here.
Not been considered the same. Lindholm, brand new season. Mangiapane, brand new season. Those guys are all coming off of years where they significantly outperformed the year before.
David had a career year.
Yeah, he
Draisaitl had a career
Did he
year. Hyman had a
significantly
career year.
outperform
Bouchard
the
had a
before?
career year. Yamo had a career year. Kane had a career year. Puljujarvi had a career year. Those are all the peaks they've ever had. Those are the best years that
and
those Oiler players have ever had.
But those they were consistent.
Your boy Devin
They were
Shore,
consistent.
career year.
Devin Shore.
I'm just saying. I'm trying to be realistic, man. I just there was more scoring in the NHL.
The
Scoring
projection between the Oilers year over year was different than the projection on those other players on the Flames.
I'm not saying that those are peak seasons for the Oilers, and I understand that you're saying that those might be peak seasons for players like Lindholm and Mangiapane.
That's exactly it.
But
no,
are we just gonna?
But you don't understand because you're saying like you're not looking at it the right way. Those were years where those guys significantly outperformed years prior. The Oilers players that have had career years, they did have career years. Yes, maybe they've been points and everything, but those were
the best years they've ever had.
Values.
So why are we going to discount Gaudreau, who's on that trajectory? But that he was one of the players you're talking about that had a career year. Taychuk was one of the players that had a career year.
Even
and
Peter
they're gone.
Griffin says, who's not an Oilers fan, McDavid more likely to repeat career year than Huberdeau. 100%.
Who? McDavid? Oh, of course. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Of course he is.
Draisaitl.
He'll improve again. Both of them, they might have better years
than Kadri, right?
Kane will probably have a career year as well. Yeah. No, I get all.
Dash looking for a better contract. Maybe. He's going on the Flames live shot. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing: I get what you're saying when it comes to the Flames being potentially a good team. Here's my challenge with all of that: is we don't know because all those guys, they're all coming off of years that they significantly outperformed the year before. And they're all new.
But the whole NHL outperformed the year before. Their scoring is up like totally 10%, man. No, I'm not.
Missing the point. No, yes, you are. Yeah, on a linear trajectory, the Oilers are like this, where the Flames players were like this for 1 year, for one season.
That's great radio you're doing with your hand there.
People are watching. It's completely different. They're two different, and not to mention that, like you're talking massive turnover on a team, so it's not the same team. Like you can't take this.
The Oilers had massive turnover too, dude.
Did they on the top six?
Not in the top six, I guess. No, not in the same way, but the same amount of people.
Right? Top six. Does it matter? And Kirk says they got lucky with injuries and COVID.
Oh, somebody poked Kirk. Thanks for coming out just so you could defend Michael. Go back to sleep. Jeepers.
Oh, man.
I'm just trying to be realistic, man. Don't be naive, okay? I don't want you to look.
I'm not telling you that it's not possible that the Flames will have a good season. My point to you is this, is you don't, how could you possibly know? Nobody knows, whereas the Oilers, you have a pretty good idea that they're going to be top half of the league. Neil,
yeah,
Neil,
you make good points. I just still think I'm right.
Neil says I disagree with Dash. I'm worried that they could be better in the playoffs than last year. Damn you, Neil. Damn you.
Yeah, he came back to me. Attaboy, Neil.
Yeah, you're off.
Attaboy.
How do we kick him off? You two.
Tell Bear that he's being naive. Do you think your babysitter still has your nose, Michael? Come on.
Oh, all right. So we had to get into that. We had to get that.
Yeah, we did we? Thanks. I'm glad you had to get into that. I got to stand by it. Like you can't just keep beating that dead horse. I'm not going to change my mind.
No, yeah, actually, it is a point of contention for me because I really it bothers me. Well, it shouldn't. It shouldn't bother me because year over year, the Oilers don't get the credit that I think they sometimes deserve. And sometimes they do deserve the credit they get. Sometimes they've deserved all of the credit that they got. But I feel like this is a year that we have really good reason to be excited. I'm fired up. Like
I am too,
I'm
man.
legitimately fired up. We've got a reason to be excited. We got.
No doubt.
I want to believe we've got more consistent goaltending, both in the starter position and the backup position.
For sure we do.
I think
of course we do.
I think our defense, which I still think needs to be upgraded in certain areas, but I think it's better this year than we've seen. I expect better out of Nurse. I think a healthy Nurse, I think, is going to be a good player. I think CC and Nurse together this year, plus Manson behind the bench coaching these guys, full year of their system. I expect that to be better. I think Kulak, I think Bouchard, seeing him the other night, as I said, just at a different level, right? Clearly an NHL player playing against guys that were looking to win a camp contract. I think that's great. Barry, look, if in proper utilization, Barry is an awesome player to have on your team, right? In proper utilization. And Broberg, I think, to me, is the biggest question mark that we have right now. And that question mark for me is not quite as bad when you consider that there are guys that are maybe NHL ready that can split time with him, guys like Niemelainen. I'd like to see more out of Samorukov this year. I thought he got the bad end of the stick last year, and I was pissed off at Tippett the game that he came up and played.
It's two shifts, and they're both against Kyrou, Tarasenko,
top
and
line
O'Reilly.
in the league at the time. Top line in the league at the time.
They were.
You're putting a rookie defenseman.
You shit your shorts the first shift? Try again.
Try again. You might as well put me in there.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Maybe Jeff 8 or I, but
there's we're going to see some of these guys. 8 games is a lot of freaking preseason games, let me tell you. But hey, I love this. I love the way.
Morning, Black.
I just love the way that we can see these guys come out and play. Holloway, man, this guy could light it up this year, right? Like he could. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to get Perlini or Tyrati excited about it, but
there's pedigree here though, and there's a history,
pedigree.
right? Like Bob Stauffer said on his show, man, that Holloway, that was not only like a dominating rookie camp performance. He said it was one of the most dominant rookie camp performances he's ever seen from Dylan Holloway. So whether he's that heads and shoulders above, maybe that injury really held him back last year. We'll see, right? I think if his wrist holds up, man, there's an opening on Connor McDavid's right wing.
I know.
Like, come on, man.
We haven't seen Kane and Hyman yet, right? Like we haven't. Like I'm excited. We've just got reason to be excited. And hey, look, if the we're not going to get into it, but if the Flames have a good team, and it's possible they do, they got great players on the team. They got good defense, good goaltending. They got everything that makes a good, solid team. It's going to be a fun season, and to watch those. And I love the rivalry. That rivalry, the Battle of Alberta rivalry, I think is best when both teams are, at their top. It should be fun. NHL really effed up when it comes to like 3 games.
And 2 of the games are in the first 10 of the year.
Yeah.
Like they're going to play each other once in the last 72 games of the year or something like that. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I don't even know how that.
You said it best, man, when you said if that's a randomized schedule, then that guy should have just pushed the randomize button again after he saw that.
Absolutely.
I think that's the best idea I've heard yet. Yeah. It's a fail for sure.
Yeah, and so this is where the Oilers at. We got reason to be excited. I think we should have a really exciting season that's more consistent this year than it has been. I think I'm more pumped up because I went back and I watched. I know put myself through the agony of that Game 4 in the Avalanche series, and watched us lose that series. But I took that, and, watching. Hey, anytime you get a chance to watch Connor McDavid play, and it just reminds you just how absolutely heads and tails better he is than the rest of the world. Honestly, the Oilers, like that game, watching them, they competed that game against Colorado. I don't think enough has been maybe said because of the result, but they were in that game and they were good. They didn't look like they didn't deserve to be there. They looked like they deserved to be there. And this is the same team. It's the same team that's coming into, for the most part. There'd be some notable additions, I think, right?
Yeah.
And so if you can step up from where you were, that got you to the Western Conference Final last year, you should be excited about that. And I think for the first time in a long time, I feel good about our coaching.
Yep. Yeah, there's not much to look down upon, really, other than I think we're a bit short on D, or a bit young, which I've said this before, I'm completely fine with, because I think we're going to groom some of them. And, if we're injury prone because Broberg's getting blown up because Smith isn't handling the puck, or because I don't even want to say it out loud, but, if any of those, our top pairing that are a little still nicked up, don't come in 100%, that's where I think our weaknesses will come. But I love our depth there at the same time, right? If we got Nemo, we've got Deharney, we've got Samorukov. I really think Demers is gonna, or Demers, whatever we're going with, is gonna stick. He played the entire season in the KHL on the right side, and given our lack of depth there, and I think he played well, man. I think there's a few times where I went, that was an NHL move. Right? Like, he did well carrying the puck. I thought he transported the puck well. I thought he made good decisions in his own end. And he's playing against AHLers, but he might be the type of guy that would take a two-way contract, right? He doesn't want to go back to Russia right now, I can't imagine.
No, that's the
right?
That's the advantage, right? Yeah.
Take a two-way contract. Yep. And I think, which, kind of leads me to a question. And given where the chat's going here, as well as where our conversation was, I'll throw this question to you and out to our listeners. Out of the three guys that are going to make the team because of cap reasons, Holloway, Niemelainen, and Broberry, who sticks?
Well, Holloway, 100%.
Think so?
Yeah. He's at a different, I make fun of the Perlini and the Tyrati pieces, but Holloway's different. You're right. Like, if you do talk about like dominant performances in a rookie camp, he was dominant. And you talk about him just coming out and playing the last couple, games. He needs to be there. I actually, he played in that Game 4 against Colorado, and he played like 20 seconds or something. But hey, he had the puck and he had confidence with it. It was just. Just seeing him out there, like, here's a guy on the biggest stage at the biggest game of the Oilers season, elimination game, and he gets the puck and he doesn't, pardon my French, fuck it up, right? Like, he does the smart play, he shoots it in and gets the hell off the ice. It's a small, incredibly small sample, but I just think we this from every other player that's played NCAA when they come into the league. They've got a little bit more maturity to them, and there's definitely a maturity to his game. I can't get over how he cuts to the net. Like, the edge work, everything about it, the speed he's got, his ability to see the ice. There's just
Bruce McCurdy compared him to Esa Tikkanen.
Oh, I love Tick. Yeah.
Just like his ability to he kicked ass on special teams. He played really good on the penalty kill, really good. And I think and they talked about that on the Cult of Hockey. I don't want to steal it, but I totally agree. McCurdy said that, if he can actually play, and he looked comfortable in doing so, but if he can penalty kill in in the NHL, that'll be his biggest attribute to stick, because I think what, you said it's Holloway easily, and I don't know if anybody's texted in yet. Niemelainen is not subject to waivers. No. So I think it might be Niemelainen that sticks, and I think it's because he has that rare ability to hit to hurt. We need that physical aspect, which leads me back to Holloway. I think, if we want to really develop Holloway properly, I think he'll get, 30 games this year or 40 games or something like that, unless he's just like lights out on fire and proves he's ready, which, hey, let's knock on wood that happens. But realistically, if he's going to play in a third or fourth line role, which is what he's, penciled in for, bottom six guys have to play special teams, right? You can't just beat Cassian and do nothing. So ultimately, he's going to have to play 4 minutes on the penalty kill every night in order to get 11 or 12 minutes of ice time. And that's what Bruce was saying. In order for him to stay in the NHL, he's going to have to get 11 or 12 or 13 minutes of ice time. He's just going to play 6 or 7 minutes. Then he might as well get down to the AHL, where he can play first line and light it up, right? And get lots of responsibility and build confidence. So, Broberry didn't do enough for me really to prove like he's, but like I said, we're not going to put a lot into preseason. I think he may be the first sent down. I think there's some competition there in that 7 spot. Ryan Murray's hanging around too. Not that he's been awesome, but he's got NHL experience. And, I think that's what's going to be looked for at some points in times as well. As long as they all make that minimum salary, they're going to slide in there. So.
Well, and it doesn't necessarily have to be, a negative about how they're playing. But the reality is this might be the first season, and I said this earlier, where the Oilers have an opportunity where they don't need to overplay these guys, Holloway included, right? Where they can, they can afford to give somebody a couple games experience, it's to me, it's like, you get into this, and in years past, right, we go through these massive slumps, and the last thing you want to do is bring in a rookie. Right, you can't afford to. But I feel like they have the opportunity to develop guys 1 or 2 games at a time this season. And Broberg's going to be the guy that is last man on that on that totem pole, and he'll go. He'll go, and sit a couple games, here and there. And Niemelainen certainly deserves a shot, I think, and may play in situations where you need some muscle, right?
Yeah.
And then who knows what happens, right? Sometimes you have things like that where you go on a 5-game stint, and a guy like Niemelainen could come in and just be outstanding, right? And play an extra 5, and Holloway could end up the whole season, or he might, the one thing you brought up, Cassian, here's something that I think needs to be said, but
sure. Before you say that, I just want to answer Neil, where he said that if there's subject to waivers for Niemelainen and he isn't, the only defenseman that's subject to waivers is Samorukov, and the Oilers are actually apparently talking behind closed doors of that fear, because they may have to.
Yeah.
But sorry, Cassian being useless.
I mean, a big challenge with a guy like Cassian, contract was one, right? But it's like the whole Lucic thing, right? You go, and I hate to dig up old wounds, but you have a guy on your roster that that, like Lotzi called it, pushing Cassian up to the top line. But that shit happens with guys like that. And when it happens, it's like this giant groan from the fan base and from everybody else. But the coaches, they don't have much choice, because sometimes other shit isn't working. And that's the guy you got. That's the guy with the contract, the guy that can't go anywhere. And the Oilers don't have that sort of, that guy in the lineup this year, I think, where they're going to have to play a guy sort of and be that boat anchor on that top line.
Yeah.
I think if you're to listen to the players, the one thing that the Oilers will miss, they seem to really like Cassian as a teammate. So, but hey, there's a lot of good guys on this team. I think in terms of personalities that should be able to fill that gap. So outside of that,
Do you want to
think
keep
that's-
Fogle or Cassian? Which
yeah.
can
Well, and that's the
both
other
good
thing,
guys. Which expensive good guy do you want?
Yeah. So,
Goldberg's not eligible for waivers either, Neil.
no.
We wouldn't lose him. We just send him down.
So, that's kind of where I'm at in this. And then, the flip side to all this is having enough guys that are on the cusp, still goes back to, trade bait come deadline time. And if we're not buyers, then something's really gone fucking wrong. Right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, then something's really gone wrong. Blow the whole thing up because I'm like, if we're not buyers at the deadline,
We're not buyers,
I
then
mean,
I'm not even going to say it out loud. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we ran into a lot of injuries.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Here's something. Neil brought this up. I heard this. I don't. Did you hear Anthony Stewart saying Connor loves Yessa?
No,
RV. I heard that. Did you? You didn't hear about that?
no, I didn't hear that. I
Yeah.
also agree with Black, by the way.
What's the? Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Losing
Sam Rukov would be awful.
tragic.
Yeah.
I just think. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it just he wouldn't have got a fair shake for sure. And I think there's a lot of folks, like hockey folks, that would agree with that on Sam Rukov. There's a few. I think Stredi was particularly critical of Sam Rukov after that game. I mean, there was lots to be critical in that game. He certainly, he looked awful, but I just think he's he's in a bad spot. I'm curious though about this, Connor and Yessa thing, because it's been people that watch and listen to us know I've always kind of had this sense in my head that if I'm McDavid and I'm Draisaitl, maybe there is a lack of confidence in Puljujarvi. Not everything shows well for Puljujarvi, but sometimes that. The inability to maybe put the puck in the net at, key times, players can lose confidence in each other. But if if Connor's on his side, then I think that's great. Puljujarvi's certainly a character. Like, there's lots to love about the guy, always smiling, and some of the shit that he does, it's pretty funny. I hope that they like him, and I think that'd be a good part of what he is. I want the distraction of this whole trade thing to go away, one way or the other. Like, get the trade done or don't, right, and get the season started.
I mean, why wouldn't you want Puljujarvi on the team if he's a potential top 6 guy that you can plug in and a very, very good third line guy that's going to get you 22 goals on the upside and 14 on the downside for $3 million a year? Sign me up.
Yeah, and that's the thing is right now, if you put Puljujarvi up for a trade, you're not going to get what you think he's worth, right? Not with the trailing half of last season. I just don't think the trade value is what for a $3 million a year player.
Yeah.
I think Oilers know. I think the Oilers know. I think the fans, that watch know he's worth that to the team. So if you're not going to get what it's worth, then hold on to him. Maybe he's he might be the first one gone. I was surprised. I thought he'd be gone for sure, but we'll see.
As soon as they structured Jesse's contract as just $3 million straight away, that was the point in time I realized he wasn't going anywhere. I said it on your show before. If they wanted to make him more valuable, they could have given him $1.5 million in signing bonus and 1.5 salary, where he's getting paid 1.5 in real money, but goes 3 against the cap. And guys like Arizona and Buffalo will eat that up in a heartbeat. All of a sudden you turn a negative asset into a positive asset. And Holland could have done that. Makes no difference to Cates, makes no difference to the cap. So I think as soon as he did that, he knew that if he's going to get what he wants for Yessa, it was going to be I wouldn't doubt if he's on the top line with Connor to start the year. Because what if he gets 25 points in his first 28 games? Then what do you then what do you get in a trade for him? Certainly a lot more than what you would now, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's no loss in it, right? I mean, you keep him, as we're saying, right? If the Oilers are buyers at the deadline, which you expect them to be, you get to the deadline, and what do? Either Puljujarvi's killing it, and you keep him on the team, right? Because he's, doing amazing stuff, or you trade him. And
for sure,
yeah, and
Here, let me read this from Beer League Heroes. Contrary to what's been reported 3 or 4 years by the Edmonton media, former NHLer, turned analyst Anthony Stewart said that Connor McDavid wants Jesse Puljujarvi on the Edmonton Oilers this year. Stewart also went on to choose Puljujarvi as his breakout candidate for 22-23, and that if all the dominoes fall right, could score as many as 28 goals.
It's a lot of dominoes.
Beer League's thoughts on this, and I agree, is the fact of the matter is, quote unquote, for Beer League Heroes, the fact of the matter is the Edmonton Oilers are a better team with Jesse than without him. And in the event that he really wants off this team, it's in his best interest to play really well so that Holland can get at the price that he wants. There's no better true right wings on this team than Jesse. Not Kyler, certainly not for Tannen, not Derek Ryan, and not Bourgault. Hyman and Fogle are left wings, and the club is better off playing those two in their natural spots, regardless where they prefer to play. And I agree with Kelly.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about the right wingers, 100%, right? That'd be good. It'd be good. I mean, I want to see.
He could be the trade bait for Kane. Maybe perfect world. Maybe that's Doherty or Samorukov and Puljujarvi.
I want to see him be successful.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, he's the kind of guy I like to see. Be successful. He seems to put in a lot of work.
Yep.
Oilers Live dog's making a bed behind me somehow. Yeah.
How many episodes has Merlin done? Probably not 30, hey?
No, he's been here for every one of them.
He's been here. You call him the best guest you've ever had. But
he is the best guest. He does. Of course, he's making a lot of noise behind me now.
I can't hear him. You're good.
I can hear him. It's driving me nuts. I wanted to talk about one guy before we finish this show tonight. And thanks everybody for tuning in. Lots of you across all the different streams. Really appreciate it.
More entertained by Neil in the chat than I am by you doing this podcast, by the way.
Ryan McLeod.
Maybe Neil and I could do a show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Ryan McLeod, because here's a guy, again, I'm watching that game 4 against Colorado.
Was it offside or wasn't it offside?
Yeah. I mean, but Ryan McLeod, the kid, that's it. I mean, obviously, given the situation, but that's a bargain contract. He is going to be a very, very valuable asset to this team this year. After this year, what's this guy going to get paid? I mean, he's awesome. He's far exceeded any expectation I ever had of him. Continued to get better game after game after game until he was noticeably one of our top players, in going into the playoffs. In terms of
got better and better.
Yeah, just utilization, right? You could use him up, and if Connor McDavid's out for a period of hockey, you can put Ryan McLeod up on the top line. I mean, he's not going to get
Nuge 2.0, right? The Swiss Army knife that you can plug in anywhere. That's a little bit soft, but fantastic everywhere else.
He looked good in preseason game too, right?
McLeod's been great. Yeah, absolutely.
He's, look, I love this kid. I just want to see him. I'm excited to see him play this year, and I think he's just going to get better.
His contract reminds me a little bit. Do you remember when San Jose was up against the cap 4 or 5 years ago, and they had to renew Kevin LeBanc? And everybody was like, "Oh, he's going to get 2.5 or 3 after having 60 points in a breakout season." And then all of a sudden, he got the league minimum, and everybody was surprised. There was rumors that there was a handshake agreement with Doug Wilson, and sure enough, the next year he gets 3 by 3.5 or 4 by 3.5 or whatever it was, right?
4.8.
So, was that what it was, sir?
Yeah, 4.8.
So, is that what McLeod's looking at?
Well,
honestly,
he could be. I mean, if he continues on the progression that he's on, right? Like he's a he could be he's just could be anywhere. He's top 6 kind of player, right? Like he's on that progression. And then you got Holloway. Look, future's bright. Eric Friesen brings out a tweet today. Talks about Elliot Friedman, of course, talking about the salary cap expected to increase up to $92 million in the summer of 2025. Happens to be Draisaitl's next new contract year. The cap should go up again in 2026. Happens to be Connor McDavid's new contract year. With the cap increases, look, we could be, if Holland or whoever's at the helm by that time comes, puts it together.
One of the Hollands.
Yeah, this team's got, potential for, putting together a few seasons of good quality hockey, right? Hopefully make up for the decade of darkness. I mean, we've had a couple of good seasons, decent seasons of good quality hockey, just not the right results in the playoffs until last year. So, let's see what goes. All right. We are, Neil says Dynasty. I'm not there yet, but definitely need some defense, probably some defense work.
We just need Skinner to keep this streak up. Did you know that Skinner hasn't let in a goal ever since Woodcroft got hired?
I did not know that, but
he left on he had a shutout, got sent down, and didn't play in the NHL again until his half game shutout in game 1 of the preseason. So
right on. Well, hey,
I thought that was a cool stat.
That could go forever.
Yeah, Skinner's probably not going to get scored on for 82 games now.
Yeah, probably not.
Extrapolate that out.
Probably not. All right. Appreciate everybody today. I'm going to, against my better judgment, let Dash get the last word in tonight. But before he does...
process of elimination.
yeah.
Unless you want to give it to Merlin, that's fine. Go ahead. I won't be offended.
I hadn't even considered that.
That's probably why he's stirring. He's trying to get your attention.
He's trying to get in there. Hey, look, everybody. Again, thanks for tuning in. It's lots of exciting things happening at heavyhockey.com. Just some amazing, as I said, with Lotzi and with Kirk and with Eric and the guys, pitching in and just making things go well this year. I'm forever thankful that I've got the group around me that I do. Josh at Tough Call Pod, Dash, of course, Dursa, Spencer, Brett Luchansky for the one article that he does every quarter.
Hang in there, Brett.
Yeah, it's just been really good, this whole Heavy Hockey Network piece. We've got some exciting announcements coming in the next little while, and things are just going to expand from there. And we've got Jeff Aid is going to do some Buffalo Sabres content on behalf of all 10 of the Sabres fans out there. And we got lots of stuff happening, lots of good things happening. Just please go check out heavyhockey.com. If you got a chance, subscribe here on YouTube at youtube.ca or .com/heavyhockey. Check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/Oilers podcast. And, there's lots of exciting things happening. So I really appreciate people that reach out to me, the people that continued in the chats, Neil, Black, Mascari, Jack, and all the rest of you guys. Really appreciate that. I'm looking forward to a good season. So on that note, I'm going to let Dash have the last word. You go. You know the rules. Everybody else, I'll say goodnight. Now that I've said, oh man, the numbers just dropped off incredibly right now. That's crazy.
Oh, I'm going to give Dash the last word. We gone!
Yeah. All right. You got the last word. I'm on mute.
You're also a liar. I can see those numbers too, and they just doubled, by the way. All right. So Mike likes to tell us here that we have free reign and can say whatever we want, but I actually got limitations and restrictions put on me before this show and told that I had to be a good boy, so I will be. What I'm the most excited about this year is, and we talked about a lot of it this episode already, you guys, but we've never had this kind of depth. We've never had this kind of depth in our system. We've got, like we talked about, like Stauffer has mentioned, like I tweeted, we're the only team in the NHL that has all last 10 first-round picks still in their system. We've got 5 or 6 different defensemen in their 20s that could, be a seventh defenseman. We've got the cap increasing. We've got the best 2 players in the world, arguably, or the first and the third best player in the world, arguably, on value contracts. This is the first time I can remember in a long time that the Oilers haven't had a shitty contract. Go back to Pisani, go back as far as you want to Horkoff and all the way through. How many guys that, got crapped on in this market just because they didn't outperform their contract? And what I am alluding to being the most excited about is the trend that I'm seeing in 2 different ways. And one is the fact that, and it's a little bit unfortunate, but we're losing the middle class of NHL players. I think these superstars are going to get paid what they deserve in the tens of millions, and we're seeing a lot of really good quality NHLers take contracts at $750,000 just so they can stay in the league. As the cap increases, and we have, arguably the 2 of the top 3 best players in the world on value contracts, we have depth in our system. We have all of our first-round picks. What else could we ask for? I hear Tess still get upset with Holland, and all we've done since he's got here is improve. And yeah, McDavid's improved, and yeah, Draisaitl's improved, and we have those players, but ultimately other GM like Chiarelli had those players. He didn't get there, so Holland's doing something right. And to finish off, I'll talk to the other side of it, which is actually I'm going to refer to an article in the Athletic from Low Tide, where he had talked about, if we're going to start to build a dynasty, as was referred to, it's going to be with a little bit of money ball. We've got to get guys at the league minimum or close to that can outperform their contracts. Mike, you said you'd be on mute, you liar. And that's what we're seeing, right? You look back at the bets that Holland's made, and maybe what the most or the biggest tell has been is that Brad Holland got promoted. And Brad Holland's all about analytics, right? And when Holland first got here, Marcus Granlund, Gaetan Haas, Joachim Nygaard, Riley Sheahan, and then he hires his kid. We start looking at analytics a little bit more. We're starting to maybe try to find more players that have better bang for their buck. Kyle Turris, Tyler Ennis, Dominic Cahoon, Devin Shore, Anton Forsberg. A little better. All of a sudden, the 21-22 list hits, and who saw Cody Ceci being this good? Who saw us getting a Vander Kane for $2.2 million? Derek Ryan, still here, still performing. Colton Sevier, Perlini, well, whatever. Then we look at 22-23, Kulak, Janmark, Picard, McKegg, Murray. All of a sudden, we've got solid NHL pedigree in these positions to be able to outperform their contracts at the league minimum. And what this tells me is that we might be set up for more than just a one and done. We've got Lucic and Sekera's money coming off the books. Clefbaum and Smith will both be out of LTIR, which gives us a lot more cap flexibility. All in all, long story long, I'm excited about a lot of it. We've not been in this position in an Oilers franchise, maybe ever, since our induction into the NHL, really. So enjoy it, be positive, and go Oilers, go.